My Lions pull off a massive win, Montego Bay are the new leaders, and Mount Pleasant pull off a great escape. But we start one place and one place only, and that's at Fernita Park, where two informed teams put on a show. This is Match Week 10 Review Show. Yeah, people, welcome to Champion Fun, and despite the international break and the heartbreak that is the Reggae Boys, we still have JPL action to talk about. So without further ado, we just jump straight ahead to Fernita Park, where league leaders Portmore United was hosting the Junglist Arnett Guns. Straight from the lineup, Portmore made some interesting change. Tariq Zimenez and Vere were on the bench, as Ramon Howell and Jahari Lawrence got their chance in the starting lineup. As for Arnett Guns, there was a change in goal again. Out is White, in is Roger Williams, and a change at centre back as Alvin Strawn comes into the team. Now these are both informed teams, so it's no surprise when the game started up. It started off on a quick note. Portmore had more of the ball in the early proceedings, but it almost seemed like the game was too open already, and Arnett was flourishing on the counter. So much so that Jaheim Thomas made one of the main players streaky from midfield to cause Portmore trouble. But Portmore did have their own big chance as well. Here when Barnett trapped the ball using his chest, and then with a good volley, he beat the keeper but could not be the frame of the goal. It was a sign of good things for Portmore, but Arnett shoot that off and came back forward themselves with decent shots of their own that test Russell in goal. Then Stevie Young pulled off a massive save on the line to deny Warner Brown. But that's pretty much how the rest of the first half went. Portmore did finish the half stronger, and if they were a little bit more tighter in the box, they could have get the opening goal. But it was not to be, and the halftime came at 0-0. Second half was kind of more of the same. Both teams traded spells of dominance and pressure, and both teams would have difficulties getting the ball over the line. One could argue though that Arnett had the better of the chances, especially in the second half, but again Russell and his defense was doing enough to keep Arnett at bay. And just when you thought the game was going to peter out to the unfortunate 0-0, Chevron Wallace was now into the game, comes up and had the ball in midfield, and just by the drop of the shoulder, he provided enough space for himself. He was still some ways out, but he took a crack anyway, and off the left peg, he goes straight in and beat Russell and into the back of the net. There was a big time goal in the last minute of the game, and surely it would have been the game winner. And of course, moments later, the referee blew a whistle, and it was confirmed to be the winner. Disappointing for Portmore, as their undefeated streak is now snapped at 7, and Arnett now looking like they are now world beaters. An enjoyable game, and Arnett come out the victors. So that's the game in terms of the highlights. But how is it in terms of the numbers? Let's look at possessions, guys. Portmore in the overall game only had 39% of possession, while the Junglists enjoyed 61%, as Roman Shepherd especially had a great game in the middle of the park. In terms of total shots, Portmore had 7 total shots compared to Arnett's 11. Portmore also had 2 shots on target, as Russell was doing all he could to keep them out. Portmore had 49 dangerous attacks compared to Arnett's 75 dangerous attacks. Arnett had 11 corners compared to 4 from Portmore. So yeah, this was actually a very impressive away performance by Arnett Guns. They stuck to their way of playing, and if it wasn't for Russell in Portmore goal, they probably could have wrapped this up one early. Warner Brown did not score today, but I felt he had a good game as well. But that midfield trio of Martin, Shepherd and Thomas is definitely their main weapon going forward. While Portmore, they could be disappointed that they missed out here and their undefeated streak come to an end. It's not like they played poorly, it is that they didn't have enough quality to get it over the line. So I'm sure they'll come again next week. So once again, it finishes Portmore 0, Arnett Guns 1. So that game was the second of a double header, as the second place team, Montego Bay United, was also in Portmore as they take on another Portmore-based team, Racing United. In terms of lineup for the host team, Kirkley was into the team, but there was still no Markovich Brown, who is out still injured. As for Montego Bay, they were fully attacking, as they had Brian Brown, Owen Gordon, Jordan Fletcher and Shaniels all in the lineup, which means that Romero Smith had to run the midfield by himself. Now when the game kicked off, I have to give credit to Racing, they came out much more positive, and they even got an early first shot on goal. It didn't muster much, but at least it was a positive start. But then after that, it was all Montego Bay. They completely took over after that. Hospital did some great work to find Shaniel Thomas right in front of the top of the 6, and I don't know what he was doing, but he missed a glorious chance to give Moby the lead. Moby again will come from that same wing. This time was Owen Garn that placed the ball into the box and was met by Brian Brown, but his header was met by Holmes, who was reminding everybody just how good of a keeper he is so far this season. So Mobe was knocking on the door and you felt the goal was coming. And it eventually did. Again, Hospitales was key again with a great ball down the left to Fletcher, who did do some great work to get into the box and then squared across that 6-yard box for Brian Brown that had it so easy. He could have simply crawled and got it into the net. 1-0 to Mobe, and it was desperately deserved. They didn't stop there. The onslaught continued and Shanley Thomas got his redemption with another header, and this time he flicked it onto the right side of the goal and get Mobe into a 2-0 lead. They dominated all the way up to the end of the first half, and Racing would have been happy that the whistle came. Second half though, Racing have a knock of coming out the second half a bit strong, and they did so again. They didn't play so badly, but they only really mustered one real major chance where Bashko got the chance on his right foot, but he headed straight to Enel, and then after that it was all Montego Bay again. They were as really as gun-ho as they were in the first half, but you just felt a goal eventually will come, and it finally happened all the way near the 98th minute where Harrison pulled off one of the goals of the month with his great shot to give Mobe an unassailable 3-0 lead. But they were still greedy, they wanted one more, and they got it when Wellington came onto the field and was able to power this ball past the last defender to get round Holmes and then into the back of the net. It was a gauntlet showdown by Mobe, that is stating their authority that they are a team to be reckoned with. The whistle was blown not long after that, and Mobe ran out of here with a 4-0 victory. So it was a good game for the men from the West, but how was it in terms of the numbers? Racing actually enjoyed 47% of the possession, while Montego Bay was okay with their 53%. Racing only managed 4 total shots in the entire game though, compared to 15 by Montego Bay, as their dominance, especially the first half, was definitely telling. Racing had 2 shots on target compared to Montego Bay's 6. Racing did manage to have 85 attempts of attack going forward, and 57 of them were dangerous, while Mobe were okay with the 63 of their attacks being dangerous. Racing had 3 corners compared to Montego Bay's 6. Yeah, so the numbers don't lie. They really show that Racing does have some decent build-up play, but when they get to that final third, normally it's only one yellow shirt against a wave of defenders that are in the box. They have to solve that if they want to score more goals and get themselves out of safety. But I guess they were never going to really trouble a Montego Bay team that was really rampant and in impressive form. The idea of playing their full 4 attackers really come true today. They gave Romero Smith a lot to do in the midfield, but it paid off, and it will be interesting to see if they keep that same mindset against the bigger boys. Nonetheless, they are the new leaders and they should be going home happy. So once again, it's finished Racing United 0, Montego Bay United 4. So we move on to Clarendon, where Vere Phoenix United was looking to continue some decent form, and they were hosting a team that also needs some points in Tivoli Guns. Vere had a change in goal as the veteran keeper Michael Harrison comes into the net, and there was also a change up top as Josiah Daniel was also in the team. We should also mention that quality youngster Rabina Gordon also started this game. As for Tivoli, they made some changes as well. Nicholas Clark came into the net instead of Horton. Got a chance to look at John Williams in the team. Shaquille Jones got another start. Barton Bryce is returned to the team as well. But the familiar faces of Justin Dunn, Nelson and Fuller will lead the line in terms of attack. Now this game ended up being one of the most entertaining games of the weekends. As the game kicked off, we saw right away it's going to be an open game and back and forth. Vere Phoenix started very well and honestly should have taken the lead very early, but Joshua Daniel got a massive chance where he failed to get enough on it to get it past the goalkeeper. This was going to be the first of many missed chances for Daniel throughout this game. So the early proceedings Vere definitely had seemed like they had control, but they were a bit too open, and Tivoli is a team that loves a counter. And they got the opening goal of the game, a ball floating down the right side for Fuller coming down into the space, and with so much acres ahead of him, he was able to pick out Lennox Russell at the back post, was able to tap it in and give Tivoli a 1-0 lead. It was kind of against the rudder play, so Vere came back again at Tivoli and it was trying him luck to get something into the back of the net. But again, poor finishing in the Tivoli box, it made Tivoli escape and leave the home team feeling frustrated. So you see, a little bit of luck was on the away team side, but they made a blunder, a big blunder, where Robbie the Gardener wasn't really going anywhere and he was bundled over in the box and gave Vere a lifeline to get back into the game. Up stepped the impressive Wu Ling, who was calmly slotted away to the keeper's right and give Vere the deserved parity into the game. From there, it was all Vere again as they was trying their best to get the go-ahead goal, and again they missed some massive chances to give them the go-ahead goal. But they were still leaving themselves open at the back until they also had some good chances get a goal of their own on the opposite side. But again, some impressive goalkeeper and poor finishing left the teams in parity at the half. Second half now, I think Vere stepped up a bit and is looking more likely to find the next goal. But again, Daniel fluffed his lines a bit and they just couldn't get it into the net. At this point, Hyde made some changes and some of their more impressive schoolboys are now into the team, including their number 10 Mackenzie, who came on and made a little bit more spark in that attack. So much so that he got an impressive goal of his own, tricking through Tivoli's midfield, and yet with a bit of 30 yards out, he got a good rasping shot that still somehow get past Clark and into the back of net. The keeper should have done better there, but you can't be telling Mackenzie that, who was feeling elated to get his second goal of the campaign. At this point, it just starts going to be Vere 3 points all day long, and they honestly should wrap the game up with a massive chance here on the counter, but again and again, Joshua Daniel fluffed his lines and they couldn't get it done. But he still felt like they were in control of the game and there's no way Tivoli is going to get a chance back into it. But they got a free kick right at the edge of the box right before the end of the game, and when the ball floated in, he managed to find his way through the 6-yard box and find an Arnett Wayne Hudson, who tapped it in and gave Tivoli a massive escape out of Clarendon with a point, because that was basically the last kick of the game and he finished a very entertaining 2-2 draw. So it was a back and forth game. So how is it in terms of numbers? Sadly, we don't have possession stats for this game, but you could tell by the eye test that Vere had the majority of the possession. They also had 13 total shots compared to 14 from Tivoli. Vere had 7 shots on target, while Tivoli only had 6. 3 corners to Vere, 8 corners to Tivoli, and 2 yellow cards in the game, all going to Vere. Now you can look over and those missed chances by Daniel and others that you could feel that Vere should have won this game, but the game was just that even and that open, and maybe the 2-2 draw was what deserved by both teams. And it's not exactly what they both needed, but I guess they would take it, especially Tivoli Gardens. So again, it finishes Vere 2, Tivoli 2. So we move on now to the compound where the Harborview was hosting the defending champions Cavalier. Harborview went with a decent attacking look with Rowan Brown, Andre Fagan, and Akosa Chung all in the attack. Also kept the young impressive Surinese keeper, Demelcio Fur. As for Cavalier, it's no secret that they're without Richard King, who's away on Reggae Boys duty, but of course they will be also without Busy Atkinson as he was still injured. In are the likes of Orlando Russell and Jerome McCleary. No, we're so used to Cavalier starting the faster of the two teams, but it was Harborview who actually started the brighter, and they came forward and had a decent chance very early on, but the ball came from the right hand side, but Fagan couldn't stretch enough to get it into the back of the net. But it was a warning sign to the Cavalier that Harborview was coming with a game plan to get the ball in from wide. This time they found they had a Rowan Brown almost in basically at the top of the 6-yard box, but it was an impressive point blank save by Jadine White in goal, and there was some stubborn defending by his defenders to manage to keep Harborview out of the back of the net. Cavalier was definitely not looking like the usual self. They weren't keep as composed as they normally are on the ball, and of course you can imagine without Richard King, that's probably the reason why, but he was still disappointed how often when they have the ball they just aimlessly dunk it down the field. I know it's their usual direct style of football, but if you notice Harborview team, they have tall players down the spine, so dealing with those long passes was just like child's play. But Cavaliers still carve out some decent charges of their own. This free kick here, von Stein, who managed to put it on target, but Fer did well to tip it over the bar. Before Andre Fagan probably got the easiest chance of the game in behind the back line, but couldn't beat White in a one-on-one. Cavalier did end the first half better though and had a good chance, but Calvin put a good shot from the top of the box, and while I couldn't make it clear if Fer got a hand on it, and Calvin couldn't tuck in his own rebounds to give Cavalier the lead. There would have been one more chance in the half where the ball found Stein, who was trying to acrobatically put the ball into the back of the net, but it floated aimlessly over the bar. So a good end to the half for Cavalier, and you felt that they would come rear and go in the second half. But the game got a bit chippy and a lot of the flow was breaking up by needless fouls in that second half, and it was not much chances on either end. Harborview still actually dominate the possession, I felt, in the second half, but they were not finding the same chances like they were doing in the first, and they really couldn't muster anything going on target. Cavalier were the same. They made their changes and took off all their big guns except for Calvin, and the youngsters came on and didn't really make much of a difference. So it wasn't a surprise that the game eventually would come to an end at 0-0. So they were scoreless on the board, but how's the rest of the numbers of the game? In terms of possession, Harborview did enjoy more of the ball at 53%, while Cavalier only managed 47%. Harborview did have more shots overall. They had 11 total shots compared to 10 by Cavalier. Harborview managed to have 3 on target, while Cavalier outdid them there and had 4 on target. In terms of dangerous attacks, Harborview managed to have 43, while Cavalier managed to have 49, and 4 corners apiece. So looking at these stats and looking at the chances by both teams, you could say a draw was a fair result. Cavalier probably felt a little bit let down that they didn't get it across the line as the defending champions, while Harvey should probably felt a bit aggrieved as well as the home team that they didn't get that 3 points out of this game. But again, I think the point is fair. So once again, it finishes Harvey 0, Cavalier 0. So now we move on to our next game. It's supposed to be a massive game at the end of the table where Dumbo Holding was, well, quote-unquote hosting Mullines United, as the game was supposed to be at the Anthony Sporting Complex but had to move because of an imposed curfew to the Waterhouse Media Stadium. Now in terms of the lineup, the big surprise for Dumbo Holding is that it resembles the team that lost in Montego Bay last week, which means there was still no spot in the starting lineup for Leo Campbell, and Ajuma Johnson was finally on the bench. As for Mullines, in the second game in a row, Jesse Wright is starting, which is good for them and their captain, and he would be joined in attack by Marlon Pennycook. We will also get a fairly rare look at Joel Powell and Carlos Cooper. Now, when the game kicked off, Dumbo Holding actually enjoyed most of the ball and most of the possession and basically got the first shot on target of the game, but again, it never really exactly looked more threatening. But after a while, Mullines did settle and then enjoy most of the possession themselves and it was coming in droves. But they didn't exactly get a clear look at the Hamptons goal. But that all changed in the 22nd minute with Jesse Wright had the ball from the right hand side, play to the top of the box, and Carlos Cooper coming in from the left, flicked the ball up to himself before volleying the ball through the defender's foot and then passed Hampton into the back of the net. It was a good try by the goalkeeper who got a hand on it, but he needed to be stronger to keep that shot out, and Mullines got an important 1-0 lead. Their celebration would basically double 10 minutes later when from a free kick from the right hand side, the ball was floated in and found of unmarked Joel Powell in basically at the top of the 6-yard box and sent Mullines into dreamland as they got a very impressive 2-0 lead at this point. Dumbo Holding was shell-shocked and took some time to recover. Eventually they did and finished their first half fairly well but could not find a goal in return. Second half though, it was basically majority Dumbo Holding, and they had majority of the ball and had probably, I guess, but majority of the half chances. But Lions did have theirs on the counter, but Dumbo Holding was the one that was definitely working the box more. But honestly, I don't remember they actually bringing the keeper into any major saves. They huff and puff, but they never really get anything going. In fact, Mullines wrapped up the game. As I said to you, they got massive chances at the counter, but it just wasn't composed enough to finish up Dumbo Holding for good. But in the end, it never mattered, as Mullines picked up a rare clean sheet and a rare win as well, 2-0. In terms of the numbers, Dumbo Holding did enjoy majority of the possession. They had 59% compared to Mullines 41. Dumbo Holding had 16 shots as they went for it in that second half compared to 12 by Mullines. 8 of those 16 shots was on target compared to 7 by Mullines. Dumbo Holding had 50 dangerous attacks compared to 29 dangerous attacks from Mullines, and they both have 2 corners apiece in this game. So yeah, technically on paper this counts as a home loss for Dumbo Holding, and you kind of feel it for them. If this game was played in St. Catherine, they probably would have done a little bit better. Again, they didn't play poorly here, but as their coach Bijan Thomas said after the game, they just lost concentration at the worst time for those 2 goals. While Mullines and their coach Thomas should be absolutely delighted, they finally got 3 points on the board again, and more importantly, they got a clean sheet. They will be hoping and praying this will be something to spark them going up the table going forward. So once again, it finishes Dumbo Holding 0, Mullines United 2. Okay, sticking in Jewsland, the second of the double headers was Shepparton Maroons hosting Mount Pleasant. In terms of the lineup, attackers Leon Williams and Javier Ellis returned to the squad to lead the line, but all eyes should be on Demar Deacon, who is proving to be their best player of the season. As for Mount Pleasant, of course, they were without their usual number 1 keeper, Shaquan Davis was with the Reggae Boys, so Chambers comes in. Joshua Anglin though was back from the Reggae Boys to make it in the midfield, and Captain Sule McCullough was on the bench, so Cummins wear the armband. Now when the game kicked off, it was practically all Mount Pleasant as they dominate the possession and dominate majority of the attacks, but again there were no real clear-cut chances for the men in blue. The same could be said for the Maroons, who eventually got a foothold a little bit in their first half, roughly around the 38th minute mark, but again they didn't really muster anything on target either. It was a rather disappointing first half as it was mostly physical and lacked any real clear quality in either final third. So no surprise it ended 0-0. The second half was a bit more of the same, but Shepparton had more of the ball on this one and brought more of the fight to Mount Pleasant. And they took full advantage of this moment of dominance where the go-to player Demar Deacon take the ball from midfield, dribble from the top of the box straight through the spine on Mount Pleasant, get inside the box, run his own player before put away a good shot past Chambers and into the back of the net. Remember when I said at the start of this review, Deacon is by far their best player so far this season, and he again was a shining light to get in the lead. From there, Mount Pleasant tried their best to come back in the game, and they were getting more of a foothold in the second half. But again, there weren't any real clear-cut chances for either teams for basically the next 25 minutes. It was towards the end though, Chabaton get some big chances to finish the game off, but unfortunately for them, they failed to do so. But they probably figured they did enough of the job to get the 3 points, especially when Angley got his second yellow card and therefore a red card to come out of the game. But they should never count out the former champions, and with a ball floated into Sukele McCullough into the box, he did well to hold up 3 Maroon defenders in the box, and later after Edwards, who were on the field though for Nicholson, who calmly picked his spot and got it past Chabaton goalkeeper into the back of the net, with a big goal in basically the last kick of the game to give Mount Pleasant a scrappy 1-1 draw in this game. So a bit of an ugly game, how was it in terms of numbers? Chabaton actually ended up with majority of the possession by the end of the game. They had 51% compared to Mount Pleasant 49%. Chabaton managed to have 14 shots overall compared to 19 by Mount Pleasant, but trust me, majority of those shots went outside the stadium. Chabaton had 6 shots on target compared to 5 by Mount Pleasant. Chabaton also had 40 dangerous attacks compared to 60 by Mount Pleasant. 4 corners to Chabaton and 9 corners for Mount Pleasant. So yeah, a bit of an ugly game, a game that lacked quality, but Chabaton especially should be feeling aggrieved that they didn't get the full 3 points. Again, they fought hard and did well, but to lose concentration and give up that last minute goal will definitely hurt them. While Mount Pleasant definitely have not looked really fluid or consistent so far this season, but they're doing enough to get the result to stay in that top 6, and they might try again for players in the January transfer market to get them over the line. Anyway, once again it finished Chabaton 1, Mount Pleasant 1. Okay, onto our final game, and it's actually back at Jerusalem Mini Stadium as Waterhouse was hosting Humber Lion. In terms of the Waterhouse lineup, Christopher Matthews get another start in centre back instead of Wilkes, and head coach Gale continued the experiment of playing Bygrave up front with Javane Bryan. As for Humber Lion, the likes of Lincoln Thomas was into the team, also saw the likes of Kareem Bryan and Javale Duncan continue in their positions. Now for this game, it was not televised and there's not much footage to go on. We have to use only on-ground reporting, and according to those reports, well, not surprisingly, it was all Waterhouse in terms of dominance. They dominance majority of the shots and majority of the possession, especially in the first half, as Humber Lion barely saw the ball, but managed to keep Waterhouse goalless going into the half. Second half though, Humber Lion did put up a bit more fight, but Waterhouse was still the one looking more dangerous, so it was no surprise that they finally got the goal. Javane Bryan was key that led to our own goal in the first minute to give Waterhouse finally the lead into this one. Humber Lion was not even given a chance to retaliate as before Waterhouse came at them again, and this time one of their own players got the goal. As late substitution, Jefferson got a good shot off to give Waterhouse an unassailable 2-0 lead towards the end of the game. Last 5 minutes, Humber Lion did try their best to get at least a consolation, but it was never to be as the game eventually ended, Waterhouse 2, Humber Lion 0. We do have stats though. Let's look at the numbers. Waterhouse enjoyed 51% of the ball, while Humber Lion only managed 49. Waterhouse only managed 9 shots in total compared to 7 from Humber Lion. 4 of those shots were on target for Firehouse Nation, while only 2 was on target for the Lions. Waterhouse had 90 dangerous attacks compared to 78 for Humber Lion, 4 corners to Waterhouse and 5 to Humber Lion. So again, I don't really have much report to go on, but as a good win for Waterhouse to keep them close to the top of the table, but as the first round of fixtures come to an end. While Humber Lion, another defeat for them, and if they're not too careful, they might rack up too many of these and slip down in the relegation zone. So they have some work to do, especially on their away form. So anyway, once again it finishes Waterhouse 2, Humber Lion 0. So yeah, that is match week 10, and as I said to you, we have a new leader. Montego Bay sits on top of the table, followed by Waterhouse, Portmore, Arnett and Mount Pleasant to run out the top 5. As for the end of the table, Humber Lion are too close to the relegation zone. They're in 11th, followed by Racing, Tivoli and Malines, despite their win, are still in the basement, but getting closer to safety. But anyway guys, that is all from me here on JPL Fun, and please like, subscribe and share as we look to keep you up to date on all things in the Jamaican Premier League, leading up all the way to the final in May. Match week 10 was a good one, so let's hoping match week 11 will be just as good. Otherwise, for great JPL content, you're already at the right place, JPL Fun. YouTube, big up yourself.